Good evening. My name is Steve Worthington. I'm the mayor of the city of University Place, and I'm calling the regular meeting for the University Place City Council to order for Monday, February 7th, 2022. Now called to order. And with that, I invite the city clerk to do the roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Keel.
Councilmember Keel, present.
Councilmember Wood.
Councilmember Wood, present.
Councilmember McCluskey.
Councilmember McCluskey is present.
Councilmember Fleming.
Councilmember Fleming here.
Councilmember Belisi.
Councilmember Belisi here.
Mayor Pro Tem Figueroa.
Mayor Pro Tem Figueroa present.
Mayor Worthington.
Mayor Worthington present. And I would also like to invite Mayor Pro Tem Figueroa to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Appreciate that. And let's see. With that, I would invite a motion to approve the agenda for this evening.
Mayor Pro Tem Figueroa makes a motion to approve the agenda.
And a second.
Councilmember Belisi seconds.
Thank you. And are there any objections? Not seeing any objections, the agenda is approved for this evening. So we're now moving to our public comment section of the meeting. And on the screen, we have some instructions. I'll also give you the public an opportunity to read those, but let me tell you the process as well. This is the opportunity for members of the public to provide comments to the City Council for items not appearing in the agenda or on the consent agenda. If you intend to provide comments for the public hearing scheduled for tonight, that will be addressed later in the meeting. However, the same instructions will apply then. Participation in public comments and public testimony on the public hearing are accepted by the following methods. The council takes written comments up to 1 hour before the meeting. Written comments should be sent to the city clerk. The clerk's email is on the screen, janita@cityofup.com. Comments are reviewed up to 1 hour before the meeting or provided to the City Council electronically. The council also takes testimony remotely by telephone. Those wishing to provide comments can call 1-509-342-7253, conference ID 775-527-390#. Please be advised that your call will be taken in the order it's received and that you'll be recognized by the last 4 digits of your phone number. At that time, you'll be asked to unmute your telephone and press *6. You'll be given 3 minutes to provide your comments. The city clerk tells me that we have not received any written comments this evening. We will be taking comments remotely. And with that, I believe we are ready for citizen comments, and we have one waiting. Is that right, Emmy?
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to call on Mr. Chris Kimball to turn on his microphone and his video. You have 3 minutes to provide your comments.
All right, so am I live? Can you see me and hear me? Okay. Thanks for letting me show up again. And it's a good thing it's virtual because it turns out my wife has COVID. So I've been stuck at home for about a week and a half being quarantined. Anyway, I'm reiterating basically what I said before, and that was my concern about the alarm system fees and penalties and all that sort of thing. You should have each received a letter that I wrote to Denise a couple months ago. It seems to be pretty self-explanatory. I did have a chance to talk to Mayor Worthington the other day, and I, first of all, really appreciate his time. I really, with your schedules and all these sort of important things you have to worry about, the fact that you were able to spend so much time talking to me about this was greatly appreciated. I understand that I'm not allowed to have any kind of discourse during this 3 minutes. Which seems kind of a silly rule because it would be a good time to get ideas from you all too. But basically, it appears that the most effective way to get this ordinance changed is to get some sort of a petition with concerned citizens' names signed to it. So what I'll probably do is do an online thing and set up one of those online petition things to get people to know about this and voice their opinions. Because I'm pretty convinced that when people know about the situation, maybe this is overly optimistic, but I think they're going to agree with me. So at any rate, and I think as a city council, obviously your goal would be to support the community. And with enough voices telling you this is how you can support the community, my hope is that things will change. So if any of you have other suggestions or comments of a more effective way to do this, or or anything like that, please reach out to me. I think my letter, my office phone number's on there. And although I'm not in my office for another day or two, you can reach me through the office because my staff will let me know how to, return your calls. So please reach out to me. Let's talk about this so I can more effectively make that change happen. I'm going to just keep continuing to work on it until it does, because again, I'm very convinced that the vast majority of people will agree with my position. One last thing too, I was thinking about Mayor Worthington's comment that ID can be a problem if a policeman shows up at the house. And I think the easy solution is ask for ID. They have a driver's license, the address will be on it. If they don't have a driver's license, okay, ma'am, show me a couple of bills that arrived in the mail with your name and address on it. That's pretty simple way to find out if a person actually lives somewhere. So I don't think that's a real problem that can easily be solved. So anyway, that's really all I have to say. Thanks again for letting me speak. And I'll probably, if I have to keep joining you at other meetings, I'll be glad to do that. It's always fun to see you. So thank you.
Mr. Kimball, thank you for your comments. Appreciate that. And then, Emmy, do we have another person waiting to provide comment to the council?
Mayor, I don't see anyone waiting in the lobby for the public comment this time.
Very good. We have received, let's see, comments about our upcoming hearing that'll be happening shortly. With that, then, I think we are ready to move on to the consent agenda. So is there a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
Mayor, this is Mayor Pro Tem Figueroa making a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion for approval. Is there a second?
Councilmember Belisi, I second.
Thank you, Councilmember Lisi, and a second as well. And are there any objections to approving the consent agenda or motions to amend the agenda? I don't see any, and with that in mind, the consent agenda is then approved. Thank you. That brings us to our public hearing portion, or excuse me, the action item for this evening, which is on a public hearing. It's the 27th Street Landing legislative amendments. And I believe we have our staff report to start with Mr. Brisky's help. Kevin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Kevin Brisky with the Community and Economic Development Department here tonight for the public hearing and staff report for the 27th Street Landing legislative text amendments. So tonight for your consideration is an ordinance for the three text amendments to the zoning code. The city received a private application on September 13th for the three amendments from Venture Real Estate Group. The Planning Commission held a study session on October 16th and held a public hearing on November 3rd. At the public hearing, the Planning Commission passed a resolution unanimously recommending to the City Council in favor of the amendments. The City Council has held a study session on December 6th and then a second study session on January 18th. If you remember, on the January 18th study session, we went into much more detail regarding the three proposed amendments. And for the public hearing tonight, just wanted to make you aware that we did mailings to the surrounding property owners, similar to the public hearing for the Planning Commission. The public hearing was also posted in the Tacoma News Tribune. And the three overall amendments, I will just briefly describe them, the three. Amendment 1 is to allow parking on the R1 zone properties when they are abutting mixed-use urban industrial and part of the project site. The second amendment is to reduce the required setback from R1 zoned properties from 30 feet to 10 feet when the R1 zone property is abutting and part of the project site. And the third amendment is to allow buildings with a maximum height of 75 feet when the abutting R1 zone properties are part of the project site. We did not, we received 3 public comments, which were forwarded to the City Council via email. You should have received those. They were all in favor of the recommended amendments with some other considerations. they had regarding having the city potentially look at other parking, reducing other parking standards. Other than that, I talked with also with David Swindell, and he did not receive any phone calls or emails, and nor did I beyond those. And that concludes my staff report, and open to any follow-up.
Thank you, Kevin. So appreciate that. Now the excuse me, a little help here on the soundtrack, as you may be picking up. Anyhow, the next step for us is, are there any clarifying questions from council before we move to public comments and the public hearing? Any council members with a question to clarify? Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hey, Kevin, just really fast question, and that is, are you or any of the city staff aware of any other deals in the making for property acquisitions around this project at this time?
I am not aware of any, no.
About the rest of the city staff?
They haven't, no other city staff has mentioned anything to me, unless somebody who is on the meeting has heard of anything.
I have, this is David Swindell. I have not heard of any pending sales or offers.
Or conversations, David?
Neither. Nope.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, very good. Then with that, I would invite members of the public that may be online to come forward and provide comment. This is our public comment section. And we do ask that you identify yourself with your name and address when you're making comment, and that we have 3 minutes available for those comments. Emmy, do you have anyone there for us?
I have a Mr. Donald Bosnick on the line or joining us. I'm not sure if he wishes to make a comment, so I would invite him to turn on his microphone if he does decide to participate.
Mr. Bosnick, a moment or two to make that decision and find the mute button and all of that. And then we'll move on to council consideration.
I see we also have Andrew Langford, who is the proponent in the meeting.
Yes, and is Mr. Langford, as proponent, prepared to make any statements at this point?
Yes, I would like to, Mayor.
Okay. If I could ask if we could keep that to about 5 minutes or so, just to keep our meeting moving. And I should have mentioned earlier, the council has studied this on several occasions now. We've had some opportunities to raise specific questions, and we've had those questions addressed by staff or the applicant, proponent, depending upon the nature of the question. But Mr. Langford, please have 5 minutes then. Thank you.
Oh, yes. It definitely won't take 5 minutes, but I thank you for the opportunity, Mayor, and thank you everybody for really taking time to study our proposal and study the project. And just want to say really thank you, and hopefully it passes tonight, and hopefully we can bring a great project to the city of University Place. So that's pretty much my only comment, really.
All right, well, very good. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. And I'm glad you're here for just to show your ongoing interest, obviously, and perhaps if there are follow-up questions. It doesn't appear that we have any public comments, then I would move on to council consideration. Is there a motion anyone would like to make at this point?
Mayor Pro Tem Figueroa makes a motion to pass an ordinance of the City of University Place approving zoning text amendments relative to MUU/1 and R1 zone properties.
Very good. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second to that motion?
This is Councilmember Belisi. I'll make a second.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And we have a second. And now, is there any discussion on the motion? If not, if Councilmember Keel.
Great, thank you, Mayor. I just want to speak to this motion. I am very appreciative of the study sessions that we've had concerning the work that's happening here. I think it, in my view, it's important work. It's something that is going to be very positive for our city, and something that's in our zone area for improvement and all of those positive things. I do know that we did talk about, and I raised, and several council members raised the concern around traffic around that area. I would just look to our city manager and staff to make sure that they take all those things in consideration that we talked about. And as we move forward with the proponent of this, that we work with them to mitigate, and I know we do as part of course, but I just want to underscore that really well, that we do what we need to do to mitigate traffic impacts. And speaking of the traffic impacts, I read the public comment from, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but talked about us taking a look at our parking that we attach to properties like this. And on the surface, and what I heard, it sounds like a good conversation for us to have, particularly when I look at what the PSRC and growth management is talking about, the numbers that are there, for our city. And the way that we have chosen to deal with that so far is to go up, right? And so I just thought there were some good ideas for us to explore in those comments about how we manage parking and with all of the things that are around and making our city more walkable and those things. So great points in there. And I hope, Mayor, that we have an opportunity to talk about that, in the near future when we look at other properties as we go forward. So I'm in support of this motion. I just am looking forward to further conversations of how we will build out our city going forward. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councilmember Keel. Appreciate that. Mayor Pro Tem Figueroa, I think you were next, having your hand up.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to commend our council for during the study sessions and bringing out a lot of what I would consider some very good debate, whether it be around transportation, parking, understanding the expansion of allowing R1s to be used for parking. I think what we did here was very creative and outside the box thinking, and I think that it shows how our council really does care about how we grow, and it's a necessity, and it's a necessity in so many different ways and so many pressures on our population, that growth that we are having, and how do we grow, and by doing it the right way. And I'm really feel very honored to be part of this team to how we vet things out. That being said, this is just a beginning for our developer, the developer that has invested, and thank you very much for making that decision to come to University Place to invest an enormous amount of money, and on which is still a risk no matter how you look at it. But thank you. But I wish you good luck on the rigorous. This is just the beginning, and the first phase of many phases that you will go through to complete your project. And I hope that you do. I look forward to the next year or two to see this progress and continue and make our city better. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you for the comments. And Councilmember McCluskey, you're next up.
All right, thank you, Mayor. I would like to concur and ditto Councilmember Keel's statement in regards to bringing a study session to the City Council in regards to parking. and with the possibility of transitioning over to the Planning Commission. I think that's a value not only for this particular project we have, but for other projects in the city, i.e. the 27th and Grandview project as well. I think there was a little bit of mitigation of parking there. So to look at that and to also be cognizant of the traffic impacts coming into those corridor streets going into University Place. You know, anything to make it more transit friendly and walkability. I'm all for that. And also to look at how people with limited mobility who may want to live in those apartments, how they can move around just as freely and not be so car-centric as well. I am looking forward to, I know this is a property that has been set to be developed for quite some time, and I'm excited that it's at least moving forward, hopefully, depending upon the council action tonight, so that we could have some positive improvement. And it also has a retail mix component to it, which goes along with the regional growth center as well. My other anticipation is to see the design standards, because our design standards are quite high in University Place. And I look forward to see not only a dynamic improvement to that property, but also a beautifully designed and quality enhanced building for our citizens for now and into some many future years. So thank you for your intense consideration and intense work to bring this project to University Place. It's much appreciated. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Councilmember Plosky, thank you. I appreciate that as well. Appreciate the comments there. So I had any other council members? Councilmember Belisi.
Thank you, Mayor Worthington. I am all over the table on this one. I know this project falls within the scope of what our regional growth center is designed for. It falls within the guidelines of the project. However, I look at it from a standpoint of the business community we have down there with the warehouses and so forth. And I hate seeing that last bit of property going in for residential development when we have the potential of growing some home-based companies and expanding their warehouse space. But I also understand from an economic standpoint that there aren't developers out there that are moving towards developing warehouse type based businesses, and that the market right now is trying to get housing for those that need it moving into the community. So I appreciate that you have held to those design standards that are part of our regional growth center. And I fully expect that the quality of the design will adhere to those standards and that we won't have any deviations from that. I do have concerns about traffic impact fees, and the letters that we received from two residents and an individual from a local activist group talking about transit-oriented development. While currently there are no transit stops within a quarter-mile residence or walk of this development, I don't foresee in the foreseeable future that this really becomes a truly transit-oriented development. So we are still looking at parking as being an issue for the development with the number of housing units that are there. So I would like to advise staff as you go through the final planning of this project with the developer that we adhere to no more than 25% reduction in parking because it will creep into the streets if we're not cognizant of that. It does not preclude sometime in the future, 10, 15 years, when it truly does become, we are more transit oriented and there are fewer cars, that development could not take place on some parking lot in the future. But to do any more than 25% reduction, I think would bite us in the butt with the community. Also, I know that traffic mitigation is still in the early forming stages of this development, and the mitigation could potentially rock this project if there are huge costs involved in it. And I would like to ask that staff and the developer consider some out-of-the-box thinking for particularly the intersection of 67th and 27th. And aside from just traffic lights, which we all know tends to back traffic up, that we look at some other options, potentially roundabout, that would allow an easier flow of traffic in and out of that project and through the intersection. And maybe work with the other development that is happening at the Narrows Plaza, since they will impact that intersection too, since those individuals have shopping options to go to here in our town center. But let's get creative, and let's look at ways that we can not only potentially save some money, but add some creative traffic options, and maybe look at ways that we can mitigate the runoff that in this property with looking at some options aside from holding tanks, and maybe do some creative water leachment system that will make the project more pleasant to be in as a resident. But I'm kind of going towards allowing this project to happen because you are falling within the guidelines of our regional growth center, but I do have some serious reservations about the impact that this will have. So, thank you.
Very good, Councilmember Velisi. Thank you, and appreciate your interest in some creative approaches here. Councilmember Fleming, you were next on the list.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I agree with all the comments that have been made heretofore on this conversation. I do want to just say to the developer to thank them for their due diligence in putting together what I do believe is going to be a good project for the city. Where my concerns are is I don't believe that we as a city / staff have done our due diligence in terms of the traffic mitigation issue. I've raised this question numerous times, haven't had much of a response from the staff yet, but I'm more concerned about the city doing its part in ensuring for the rest of our community that while we welcome good projects into the city to enhance it and make it a better place to live, that we're not detracting from that by creating these choke points with traffic. And that is my greatest concern. And like I said, I've asked repeatedly for a staff report on what we're doing about it, and there's radio silence at that end of the pipeline. So I do like the project. I appreciate what the developer has done in terms of being responsive to our questions and being sensitive to the concerns we've raised with it. My only comment with regards to that is what we're buying into tonight, I hope it does not change as we get further into the development and morph into something different. You know, my question earlier about, are there conversations about property acquisitions to morph this project? I have some serious concerns about that. So I would just kind of put that as a warning out there. Let's keep the project as it's proposed. Let's make it happen, and then put the ball back in our court that we need to do our side of the homework to resolve the other issues that are out there. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Fleming. Councilmember Wood, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. My comment, well, I won't go over traffic again. That's been covered. I support the comments on traffic throughout. My concern is about the modification of the zoning laws rules kind of on a piecemeal basis. I understand the need for doing it in this particular case to ensure the project moves forward in a timely fashion. But I don't want to make that a habit for our city, and I would really like us to move forward with the rezoning analysis that we were looking at for the Regional Growth Center and for other components of the city as required, so that we aren't, because I think the city is assuming some level of risk here by doing piecemeal changes to the zoning laws. And I'd rather we not do that. We just we do a plan up front and we address it there. That's my only comment, that I think we should look at that going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wood. Does any other comments from any other council members other than myself? Then if not, just some of my quick thoughts here. So I think traffic is an important consideration for us. I have some sense that the system is going to take care of things reasonably well, but it is an issue of faith at this particular point. I've worked with some traffic analysis in the past, and some of that is helping getting an idea of what the previous traffic generation was and what that area was planned for when it was the Narrows Plaza. This was not, but it is part of that system. And anyhow, the way the analysis is done, we should have that in a cumulative modeling program. So I have some sense that that should work out all right. The parking reduction is intriguing, but I also am concerned about the potential for future parking reduction. I'm not sure we have a problem to fix there. It could be worth some of the Planning Commission's time and energy. I appreciate the orientation to transit-related development. 20 years from now, there's a transit station half a mile, quarter mile away, but we have 20 years to go between now and then, and such. But that's sort of a secondary issue. It's not really the turning point for the project. It's something that could change the future required parking, but it isn't a decision point today. Today, we have the required parking that we need as a standard that we would apply. Councilmember Wood's comments about doing a more complete system-wide approach on how we look at the changes that have happened in zoning, I think is a very good one. I know in my own mind, as we were doing the form-based code, we looked at different areas that would come into play, and this certainly is one of them. And it's an area in transition, and this will really cement the future for this area. The fact is, we are going to want to do a more detailed zoning evaluation, and I believe that's in the work plan for the Planning Commission in the year to come. So that will be good, and we can take care of some things. My own experiences are when this is an intensive use, well, not industrial, it is still intensive in its nature and butting up against single family. We're going to probably hear about that for a few years. That's something we kind of have to, we're saying, yes, we have to be expected to deal with. So some future transition is likely. But I see that as a sort of a given as I've been looking at the project as well. Okay, so with all of that in mind, I think we are ready for a vote. And from my perspective, I plan on voting affirmatively, supporting the project. So with that, I'm going to invite the city clerk to do a roll call. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Keel.
Councilmember Keel, aye.
Councilmember Wood.
Councilmember Wood, aye.
Councilmember McCluskey.
Councilmember McCluskey, aye.
Councilmember Fleming.
Councilmember Fleming, aye.
Councilmember Belisi.
Councilmember Belisi, aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Figueroa.
Mayor Pro Tem Figueroa, aye.
Mayor Worthington.
Mayor Worthington, aye.
Mayor, you have the motion carries.
Okay, motion is passed, and we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is reports. And we have our city manager's report to start us off with. Mr. Sugg, are you there?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Quick report this evening, Mayor and Council. Alameda Extension Project. This was one that the council approved a bid on. It's been in our long-range plan for many, many years. Well, it's the critical transportation link between connecting 67th Avenue to Cirque Drive, curbs, gutters, storm drainage, sidewalks, bike lanes, streetlights, landscaping. I'm pleased to report that the extension is paved. The lights are on. The plan is to stripe it this week and with landscaping in the next couple weeks, and anticipate, if all goes well, have that section of road open by the end of the month. So this was a long time in coming, and we are looking forward to opening that road, and hope that everyone, including the community, gets to enjoy and see that link, the critical link. It's very important for emergency services as well. So
it is. It's a great step forward. I'm first, as one of the council, happy to see that, of course, and it completes a transportation grid that we've been needing to get complete, and will actually shift some patterns that are a good traffic patterns that I think will be a good improvement. At least that's just my view. But let's see, Mr. Sugg, did I interrupt you?
No, that concludes my report. Just a quick report on that project update, and I'm sure you'll hear more about that. Thank you.
Right, great. And then as far as the council members go, let's see. I don't have my list in front of me that I should, but if going by memory, let's see, Javier or Mr. Mayor Pro Tem Figueroa, do you have anything to report?
I go by all three, Mayor. Mayor Pro Tem does not have any comments at this time. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Keel. Any comments?
Hey, good evening again. Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just real quickly, I just want to report that many of you know that I spent last week in Washington, D.C. In my role as a president of AWC, and also had a chance to wear my Sound Transit hat back there as well. It was what National League of Cities calls a fly-in with all the association presidents across the country. We came there into their headquarters building, but we had a great meeting, 4 days, and over those 4 days we met with cabinet staff from transportation, energy, and the EPA. We also had briefings from White House staff and some congressional members as well. And so the big conversation was really around the infrastructure, housing, and Build Back, America plan, and the billions of dollars that are going to be let out of this administration going to states and cities. The really good news that I learned from that is the focus really is going to be on local cities, making sure and doing what they can do to make sure that those dollars get down to the cities, as opposed to stopping at state level, or in our case, stopping at the regional level, which is PSRC, right? And the other thing that I drove home with them a lot was not only making sure the dollars come down, but also making sure that, in particular, regional agencies don't have the ability to change the rules, right? To manipulate the formulas, those kinds of things. And so I think that was heard very well, particularly from the White House staff and the transportation staff. The good news is, as you guys know, the Secretary Buttigieg, is a former mayor, and he gets that role And then a lot of other, and to my surprise, a lot of other staff members that were in these other cabinet positions were either mayors or a special assistant to mayors, and which was great news because they all were really saying the same thing. The last piece is that from time to time, staff receive email or text messages from me about, okay, we got to check on this, something in particular around our Day Island Bridge and some other things that we're doing with Lot 1 that I found some specific kinds of opportunities that we can apply for. So hopefully, and I know staff's following up on that, so hopefully there'll be some dollars that will come directly from that meeting for our city. I'll stop there, and thank you for your time.
Well, Councilmember Keel, thank you for a very good report. Anytime you're talking about even the potential of money coming in to help us improve our community, it's always good news. So, and as long as you're there with several different hats, what's one more? So, but appreciate your help there. And with that, let's see, I believe I should have my list, but I don't. I'm just going to go with Councilmember McCluskey if you have any comments for us this evening.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. At this time, I don't, but I want to thank Councilmember Keel from going all the way back to DC and, presenting our cause and our issues and, trying to banter for support. I really appreciate that and all the other hats that you wear. They're all very, very important, very strategic for our region. And if it's good for our region, typically it could be good for our university place. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Councilmember Belisi, anything you'd like to add? Not this evening?
No, thank you. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Okay, very good. And Councilmember Wood, how about from your side?
Actually, I do have a comment tonight. I've been doing a lot of reading and research on zoning laws and what the state is trying to pass right now. I understand it's come out of committee and has some changes made to it. So my impression from what I've heard is that those changes tend to be a little cosmetic and not substantive. I hope I'm wrong on that. But I'm very concerned because some of my research has led me to believe that what they're proposing will have the exact opposite effect that they intend, which is a decrease in housing and land values, when what it actually will probably do, at least according to some researchers, will actually increase values, and not in a positive way, but just it'll allow land speculators in to bid more on this. And I would just like to keep tabs on this as a city. I know the city staff sent a bunch of questions to our legislative team. I would love to know if anybody actually responds to those questions and how they do respond. And if we could have more discussions on this in the future, or if there's anything we can do as a city council to help move this in a better direction, I'd be all for it. But that's my comment for the evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Wood, and I'll have some comments on that in my report in a moment. But first, Councilmember Fleming, I didn't mean to skip by you there, but anyhow, did you have anything further to add?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No worries with that. I don't have anything to contribute. I will later on this evening be forwarding some information, not really for a debate or conversation, just informational to the council later. I just don't have it ready to give to you this evening. So, but nothing to report at this time.
I'll keep an eye on my mailbox, but thank you. All right. Well, a few things on my side of items. Been going on with a couple of different things. One of those items was the city manager, along with assistant city manager Eric Fusine, and I met with our 28th district representatives and senator. With Maury Levitt, Dan Bronowski, and Senator Nobles, we met virtually, and I had a chance to discuss several legislative ideas along with some funding opportunities specific to where they were in the session. Short session moves quick, and so we submitted our request, and hopefully we'll hear positive things coming from that in the future. Staff was very quick about getting the information as necessary, and our elected folks were also very good about asking for what they needed when they needed it, and those are good combinations. So I did have a chance to talk with each of them about the issue of preempting our single-family residential zoning controls, allowing for potentially fourplexes. And I know also I participated with the AWC Legislative Action Days. The president of the Association of Washington Cities, in the course of that discussion with Governor Inslee, the president for our association also had some very good comments and pointed comments about this particular issue as well. And he directly was asking Governor Inslee about some of those items and are they open to hearing alternatives? And the governor clearly said that he was open to hearing alternatives. And so Councilmember Keel, who was, of course, our president for the Association of Washington Cities, gave him a couple of alternatives. Councilmember Keel, do you want to jump in here, or have I covered that okay for you?
No, thank you for raising it. It was a great opportunity. He left the door wide open, and of course, we just walked right through it. As far as what can he do, and we gave us some options, and basically those options had to do with around incentives versus using a stick. And what I'm doing now with AWC staff is we're working a letter now that is going to give him not only one or two, but many other options to help implement housing, and options to Councilmember Wood's point that won't drive up costs, but actually will do what we all and what he wants it to do, and that's to address the housing shortage that we have in the middle and the missing middle. So that's a letter, and when we do get that letter, I'll be happy to share it with. Well, we'll share it with the whole state, but I'll bring it here too as well.
I'm sure our fellow council members will be interested in seeing that as well, and thank you for that. So there is actually quite a bit of movement on that. And back to our discussions with the 28th district folks, Senator Nobles, Mario Levitz, and Dan Bronowski, they were all listening carefully to what we were saying and looking for options. The fact is, I also participated in the SHAPE meeting on Friday, and Eric, I think that's his first name. I may have that wrong, I'm sorry. The AWC legislative aide that is lead on the missing middle piece. He gave a report to the housing group and explained that this issue was not making it out of the Senate Ways and Means Committee, that it wasn't going to be heard, which is required hearing in order for it to go to the floor. That basically stopped the issue at the Senate level and leaves only the House version. And as the Councilmember Wood pointed out, that's been amended. I think it's an individual's decision or judgment, rather. Is that cosmetic or is it substantive? I frankly haven't looked at the amendments, but I understand our city staff is, and they'll be giving some feedback. But I mention it just because we have been working that issue, and we've been working some others, even though it's a short session. And frankly, so are the other 281 cities. Almost, there's a few that aren't, but almost all of them are working on this as well. And I think the action of the Senate, or the lack thereof of action, is a demonstration of that. So that was one of the things I wanted to touch on. I also wanted to say that we have one opening in the Public Safety Commission. Councilmember Wood knows about that. And since it was his seat when it was essentially. And we have 3 applications, which in my mind is enough for us to move forward if the council committee working on selections agrees. I would hope that we could have a meeting scheduled here sometime after the 17th of February. And probably during the evening, but early evening. It depends on everyone's schedule. We need to clarify something on that committee. I believe I'm on it. Councilmember Fleming is on it, Councilmember Kluski is on it, and Councilmember Figueroa is listed on it too. So I count to 4. So unless we do that as a regular public meeting, and this is not a regular public meeting kind of committee, we probably need to revise that a little bit. So we'll need to figure that out. and we'll get that sorted out and have a meeting scheduled sometime after the 17th. But I wanted to bring that to people's attention and just look forward for the committee members to having some content on that. And I'm glad to have 3 applications for the Public Safety Committee. I was going to share, I also met with them today, not the whole committee, but the chair and co-chair or vice chair, and just had a nice discussion about their work, and appreciative them taking the time to do that. We'll have some more conversation with the meeting they have coming up on the 17th, as a matter of fact. I think those are the items that I had on my list, and I appreciate a chance to talk about those. Does the council members have anything further to add, or are we just about ready to decide if it's adjournment time? I think it looks to me like it's adjournment time.
I just want to say, Mayor, that you, myself, and Councilmember McCluskey got the color code right tonight. I don't know about those other 4.
Yeah, we're working on coordinating the UP colors here, or maybe it's with the flag, whatever. But we'll see what the next memo says for color choice. All right, great. Well, if there are no objections, we're going to call this meeting this evening closed. Thank you.